Hi, I'm Leonore, and today I'm going to tell you the story of Japan, when 2 centuries of silence were shattered by black ships appearing on the horizon.
For over 200 years, Japan lived under near total isolation. The Tokugawa shogunate closed its ports, banned Christian missionaries, and tightly controlled any foreign influence that could threaten internal stability. Yet the Edo period was not stagnant. Cities expanded, art flourished, kabuki theater thrived, and an urban culture evolved with its own refinement, apart from Europe's industrial transformation. Society was strictly hierarchical. Samurai stood at the top. Peasants, artisans, and merchants followed below. Each class had defined duties, and social mobility was almost non-existent. Stability depended on control. Only one small point maintained limited contact with the outside world: the artificial island of Dejima in Nagasaki, where Dutch traders were confined under constant supervision. Meanwhile, the world was changing rapidly. The Industrial Revolution accelerated economies, strengthened weaponry, and fueled imperial expansion across Asia and Africa. In 1853, 4 American warships entered Edo Bay. Powered by steam, releasing thick smoke, and carrying superior weaponry, they were unlike anything Japan had seen. Their presence was a warning without words. The Japanese called them Kurofune, the black ships. They did not look like visitors. They looked like a display of force. Their commander was Commodore Matthew Perry. He carried a letter from the President of the United States demanding the opening of Japanese ports for trade and resupply. It was not a polite request. It was strategic pressure. The shogun faced a dangerous dilemma. To resist meant risking war against an industrial power. To accept meant ending centuries of isolation and admitting vulnerability. His advisors understood the imbalance. Japan's coastal defenses were outdated, its artillery limited. A direct confrontation could mean the bombardment of Edo and immediate devastation. When Perry departed, promising to return, he left more than a letter. He left awareness of vulnerability. Japan had only months to choose between resistance and negotiation. In 1854, the black ships returned in greater number. Under unmistakable military pressure, the Treaty of Kanagawa was signed, opening 2 ports to American trade. The agreement seemed limited, but it set an irreversible precedent. If the United States secured concessions, other powers would demand the same. Soon Russia, France, and Great Britain imposed unequal treaties. Tariffs came under foreign control, and extraterritorial privileges were granted to foreigners within Japan. For many samurai, this was a national humiliation. The shogun appeared unable to defend sovereignty. Movements emerged calling for the expulsion of foreigners and the restoration of real imperial authority. The emperor, once a distant figure in Kyoto, became a symbol of unity and renewal. Regional leaders began forming political and military alliances. Tensions erupted into the Boshin War in 1868. Imperial loyalists fought forces of the shogunate in a civil conflict that would determine Japan's political future. The imperial victory ended Tokugawa rule and began the Meiji Restoration. Japan was not merely changing rulers, it was redefining its national structure and direction. The new government abolished regional domains and centralized administration. Traditional systems were dismantled to make room for reforms inspired by Western industrial models. The class system was officially dissolved, weakening hereditary samurai privilege and consolidating a more centralized, state-driven society focused on modernization. Swords were no longer public symbols of authority. Many samurai lost income and status. Some adapted to the new reality, others rebelled, but uprisings were swiftly crushed by the modern imperial army. Education became a national priority. Schools were established across the country, and students began studying science, mathematics, and foreign languages to prepare for modernization. Diplomatic missions, such as the Iwakura mission, traveled through Europe and the United States to study legal systems, industry, and military organization. Japan observed the West with a clear purpose: to learn and grow stronger. Railways spread across the archipelago, factories rose in major cities, and the government invested heavily in shipyards, steel production, and port infrastructure. The army was reorganized along European lines. Military service became mandatory, replacing the old warrior elite with a disciplined national force trained in modern tactics. The goal was unmistakable: never again to sign treaties under threat. Modernization was not simply ambition, it was a strategy for survival in an imperial world. In 1895, Japan defeated China in the First Sino-Japanese War. The victory signaled to the world that the nation had become a serious military power in Asia. A decade later, in 1905, Japan defeated Russia in the Russo-Japanese War. For the first time in the modern era, an Asian nation had overcome a European industrial power. The triumph shocked the global balance of power. Japan was no longer a target of imperial pressure, but an emerging regional force reshaping East Asia's political landscape. Rapid industrialization transformed cities and social structures. Rural populations moved to urban centers, and state-driven infrastructure connected the economy to global markets. Japan sought not only modernization, but recognition as an equal among European powers. To achieve that, it needed to demonstrate military strength and political stability. Its victory over China secured territory and prestige. The country that once feared colonization was now a decisive actor in regional strategy. Defeating Russia in 1905 shattered long-standing assumptions about global hierarchy. An Asian power had overcome a European empire, altering perceptions of race, industry, and dominance. Success fueled expansionist ambitions. Japanese influence deepened in Korea and Manchuria, expanding access to resources and strategic leverage. Nationalism intensified in the decades that followed. Ideas of historical destiny and civilizing mission influenced increasingly aggressive foreign policy decisions. World War II exposed the limits of expansion. Conflict across the Pacific and devastating bombings culminated in the atomic explosions over Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Japan's surrender in 1945 brought foreign occupation and sweeping reforms. A pacifist constitution was adopted, institutions were restructured, and the economy reorganized under international supervision. Rather than remain weakened, Japan invested in technology, technical education, and industrial efficiency, emerging as a driving force of the post-war economy. Japanese companies became global benchmarks for innovation and quality. The country rebuilt its international image, now associated with stability and technological leadership. The forced encounter with the Black Ships in 1853 had begun a cycle of radical transformation. External shock did not destroy Japan. It catalyzed its reinvention.
Some nations resist, others learn. Japan did both. Would you like to keep traveling through time with me, Amy? Tell me which story I should explore next.